So today we're going to be making some beef stew. I have 1 pound of stew meat boiling here, and as soon as it starts to foam, what I'm going to do is empty out the water and then put it back with some fresh water to boil for about an hour. All right, as you can see that there is a lot of foam. It just came to a very slow boil, and a lot of foam is on top. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is actually remove the meat. I'm gonna push the foam to the side, remove the meat and put it in a bowl, and swap out the water and put fresh water and the meat back in. I've pushed my foam off to the side, so now slowly I'm gonna go ahead and go in and take out my meat and drain it, and I'm going to transfer it over to a bowl here. When you drain the water, you want to go ahead and wash the saucepan and make sure it's nice and clean before you put cold water in it. And we're going to go ahead and put the meat back into the water and bring it to a boil. I use this method with all of my meats, beef being the one that I actually swap out the water. But if I'm doing poultry, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the foam and continue removing the foam until the water is nice and clean, and then just letting it simmer for about an hour on a slow setting. My beef came to a rolling boil, so at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and lower the temperature, put it on the lowest setting, just so it's a very slow simmer. And then I'm going to go ahead and cover up my pot. And unfortunately, the top that goes to this pot is in the dishwasher, so I'm substituting. But I'm gonna go ahead and cover it, and you wanna let it vent. And just make sure that it's on a slow simmer. I have everything prepped here for my beef stew, and these are all of the ingredients that I will be using. I will be starting out with the onions first, sauteing those, and then I will add my red pepper. These are Bulgarian red peppers, and when they are in season, I buy a whole bunch of them, and I freeze those, and just use them for different recipes when needed. But it's great having those year round because they're not always available. And then I have my 3 cloves of garlic. I have some celery, and I've got some, this is about 3, I believe, maybe 4 stalks of celery. I've got about 4 smaller sized carrots. I have some Yukon Gold potatoes here. The Yukon Gold potatoes are best for beef stew. They are just, they just come out really soft. I have tried it with the Idaho, and it's just not the same texture. So anytime I make beef stew, I make sure I go with the Yukon Gold. And I have about 3 pounds, I believe, here. Now it may seem a lot, but I actually use them like a thickener. So what I will do later on in the recipe is actually take some out, smash them down almost like a mashed potato, and throw them back into the beef stew. And then they will be like a natural thickener for the stew, because we like our stews on the thicker side. And then here I have my organic roasted beef base. And this I will be adding to the liquid that the beef cubes boiled in, and I will be adding that towards the end. I have my garlic powder, my onion powder, my paprika, oregano, and my bay leaf. So these are all of the ingredients, and then of course I have my beef, which I have to remove from the liquid, and I will be adding that last. I've got my pot here, so I'm gonna go ahead and add some olive oil to it. I'm gonna be generous. And I'm gonna go ahead and add my onions and get those started. I've got my onions sauteing here, and I think I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil in there. And of course, I'm gonna go ahead and start layering my salt. This is kosher salt. I just think that kosher salt has the best flavor when it comes to soups and stews. I'm going to let the onions continue to saute until they get nice and soft and translucent. My onions are about halfway there, so I'm going to go ahead and add my red peppers right now and get those going with the onion and get those nice and soft. Of course, I'm going to add another dash of salt and continue to stir the onions and the peppers until most of the liquid is absorbed and they get nice and soft. Go ahead and add my garlic. And I just love the smell of peppers and onions and garlic. I'm going to saute that. You can see the liquid is evaporating. Got the celery nice and incorporated in there. And it's starting to soften up, so I'm going to go ahead and add my carrots at this time. And just continue stirring the vegetables until they softened up just a little. This is pretty much, I'm sure I've told you in many of my videos that I like to keep my recipes simple. And honestly, I use carrots and celery a lot, and onions, a lot of the same ingredients. And before I forget, let me add another dash of salt. But it's amazing what you can do just with a couple of ingredients, and you can swap out the meat, just use different meats or different carbs, and you can make a nice recipe. You can make a nice meal just using very simple ingredients and just some seasonings. I went ahead and added my spices, and so now I'm going to lower the heat, make sure I don't burn those. We're going to bring it way down, and then get those spices incorporated with the vegetables. So I have here 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of oregano, 2 bay leaves, and 1 tablespoon of paprika. I'm going to go ahead and gently saute those. And then the next ingredient is going to be my potatoes. I'm going to go ahead and throw those. I actually ended up putting in 1 tablespoon of paprika in here, just to give it that nice red color. So I've got the potatoes nicely incorporated. I'm going to go ahead and add another dash of salt. Mix that right up. So basically what I wanted to do was just soften up the potatoes, the carrots, and the celery a little bit, and just incorporate all the flavors. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the meat. And again, I'm going to go ahead and incorporate that with the other ingredients. And then you'll find that the meat is so tender, just kind of tend to fall apart, but that's okay. You will get some chunks and just some pieces, but it just tastes great once everything is incorporated. And then here I have my water boiling, which I will add my bouillon paste base to it. And I'm gonna get that to a rolling boil, and then I'll probably need to add more water, but I'm just going to boil up some water separately and then add that to the beef stew mixture later on before I cover it and have it boil for about an hour. Mix the beef base with the water that I had from my leftover from my beef stew meat. I put a little bit of water, extra water in there, but I'm gonna go ahead and warm up a little bit more and just put a tad more in there. And then I'm going to cover it up and let it simmer on low for about an hour. And I'm going to vent it so it gets nice and condensed and the flavors really come alive. So just waiting for the other water to boil up, and we'll go ahead and finish up the recipe. The beef stew started to really started to boil, so I'm gonna go ahead and add just a little bit more water to it, about 2 inches from the top. I'm gonna leave a little bit of space for it to be able to, so it doesn't boil over. And then I'm gonna go ahead and mix it up. Oh, it smells delicious. Go ahead and mix it up. I'm gonna go ahead and put my cover. This is my favorite pot to make soups and stews. I've had it for years, and it's just enough to have leftovers we'll eat, and if any of my kids come over, my grandkids, it's just enough, large enough to pretty much share whatever I'm making in it. So, and I use it pretty much for every soup or stew that I make. And because I know the size of it, so I approximately know how much ingredients to put in there. But yeah, just one simple pot. I'm gonna go ahead and cover it up. Actually, I'm gonna lower the heat first. We'll take it down to about a 2. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cover it up. And then I'm gonna make sure that it's venting. And then just let it simmer for about an hour. And we'll check the meat, we'll check the vegetables, and it should be done in about an hour. The beef stew has been boiling for about an hour. At this point, I'm going to take out some potatoes and put them in a bowl. And then I'm going to go ahead and smash them with my masher. I'll get potatoes. Let's see. Got a few here. Got my potatoes here, and I started to mash them up just a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw them back into the stew. And just let it cook for about another 15 minutes, and then I'll check everything and make sure everything's cooked through. The beef stew is all done, and it's nice and chunky. It's the potatoes are fully cooked, and the meat is nice and tender. There we go. Let's see, get some of that meat in there. And lots of veggies, got lots of celery. So I hope you like this recipe. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And have a great